We're joined from the Pinnacle in Clarksdale, Mississippi, on the campus of Coahoma Community College by Cayla Myers, class of 2023, Velma Jackson, member of the Coahoma Community College Lady Tigers. We are so glad to have you with us today. We got a room full here with us at Velma Jackson, and we are recording this for all of our friends in Madison County Schools, Madison Central, Ridgeland High School, Germantown High School, the Academic Options Center, and our YouTube channel. So we thank you for taking some time for us today.
No problem.
All right. So before we get into your first year, now as you're finishing up there at Coahoma, take us back to your time at Velma Jackson because you were involved in a lot of things. You played basketball, you ran track, you played volleyball, you were in TSA, among others. So talk about all the things you were involved in while you were here and how that really prepared you for your time as a first year college student.
Like you said, I was involved in basketball, track, volleyball. I did cross country a few times. I was part of SGA, TSA. It kind of prepared me like the basketball, like sports wise. It prepared me somewhat for college, but not all the way because it's not the same. Like high school and college is two different levels. Like the weight is different, conditioning is different, like class is different. Like you gotta have time management and balance to, work everything out.
Yeah, and I'm glad you said that. So talk a little bit about this time management because we have several athletes in here with us now, and we have several athletes that'll see this later. And the ability of all these kids that I see to play sports in college has never been a question to me. But the problem that so many kids run into is they're unable to balance being a student with being an athlete. So talk about some things you've had to learn in that because it is a lot more difficult than being a high school athlete.
Yes, like the classes, like your class schedule is gonna be based around like your practice times and stuff like that. And the counselors here, like they work with you to make sure that you got all your hours and all the credits that you need. And they work with everybody, especially athletes. And time management, like you don't have nobody waking you up in the morning. Like you have to get up on your own. Like if you have an 8 o'clock class, you got to make sure that you get yourself up and on time and stuff like that because you don't have mom, dad, grandma. You don't have nobody to wake you up. Like you have to get yourself up. And I balance my time. I balance my schedule out by basically like I go to class and then I have time to go eat in the cab, maybe study hall, stuff like that. And then I have practice and then probably after weights I eat again, maybe go to study again, something like that. But it's definitely different than high school. Like I had to learn how to get myself up on time for class because the 8 o'clock, this 8 o'clock high school and 8 o'clock college is it's two different things. But yeah.
Yeah, and another point on that, and I know I talk about this a lot, and they get sick of hearing it, is that no matter what happened the night before, you still got to get up and do it. There are a lot of long road trips in the Mississippi Association Community College Conference. So just for example, if y'all play a game at Mississippi Gulf Coast in Perkinston and then drive all the way back to Clarksdale, you got to go to class the next day, and that's about a 4.5 hour bus ride.
Yeah, like just like when we played at Pearl River, um, we stayed the previous night, but after the game we drove back and we made it back to the school like 3 o'clock in the morning. But you still gotta get up and go to class. Like being tired, that's an excuse. Like you have to get yourself up. Like even though I didn't want to get up, I still had to get up. I was running off of 4 hours of sleep for my 9 o'clock class, but I mean, the coaches like after a game and stuff, like usually we'll have like the day off and stuff, rest your body, get therapy, get whatever you need. But yeah, they feel like that's an excuse. Like you still got to get up and go to class regardless of what time you get back to the school.
Yeah, and I think that's important. No matter where you go to school, you have to stay academically eligible in order to keep playing. And basketball, because it touches 2 semesters, you have to have that GPA carry over into the spring semester in order to stay eligible for basketball.
Yeah, like it's it's not hard, but you really got to take your work serious. Like you got to stay on top of it because I see it as if I don't do my work, I can't play the sport that I love. Like I can't do what I love. So that's why I make sure I keep my grades up and the teachers they'll help you like if you need help and they know like if you communicate with your professors and stuff like that then they'll help you like say if you're coming off a road game and if the work is due that night, they'll be more lenient if you just communicate with them and be like, hey, I have a game, and they'll be like, okay, well, just turn it in when you can. So that's what I always do. I make sure to talk to my teachers a day or 2 days before the game to make sure that I can still turn my work in.
Absolutely. Now, talk a little bit about that adjustment to the type of classes in a college setting as opposed to a high school setting, because obviously Velma Jackson's a great place, but it's very small. Coahuma's not a huge school, but it's not a small school either. So talk about the adjustment to the size of the classes and the size of the campus coming from Velma Jackson.
Um, Honestly, it all depends on what classes you take. So like my criminal justice class, it's a lot of us in there. It's maybe 20, 25 kids in one class as opposed to high school where we had maybe 13, 14 in a class. It just depends. So like my other class, we got a room full, like maybe 30 something kids. And then another class I take, we have maybe 6 to 7. It all depends on first your major and what classes you're taking.
Yeah, and also the time. And I know you mentioned the 8 o'clock classes. If you play a sport, you may not be able to choose when you go to class, because if you have practice in the afternoon, you can't take the afternoon class. Your only option will be to take that early morning class.
Yeah, I had to do that because I had a class that I was going to take at around like 1, 2 o'clock. It's a lab class, but because I had practice, I had to move that class up to 10 o'clock in the morning. Which I mean, I didn't want to do, but I know that's what I had to do in order for my schedule to balance out.
Absolutely. Now, something else I was curious about is obviously you had several places that you had options to play basketball. But what made you choose Coahoma as opposed to some of the other community colleges in Mississippi?
I chose Coahoma because it was like when I visited, it was basically like a family, and that's something I'm real big on, like family and stuff like that. And everybody was nice here, like everybody was cool, and everybody was talking to each other. So when I first got here, everything it just felt like a big family. It may not be big, but it's cool.
Yeah, and it's also great that you have some of your classmates up there. I know Brenda, Jeremiah, and Rakai are all up there,
Fire.
and that helps. But that shouldn't be the reason you decide on a school because your friends go there. It's been a great decision for the four of you, and we're really proud of you guys. But I think that's an important point: is you have to go where you're going to feel welcome. You shouldn't go where your friends are just because your family wants you to go somewhere. You really found the best fit for you. And I think something that people don't know as well is that Coahoma is one of two HBCU community colleges in Mississippi. So you are getting the HBCU experience at a community college.
Yes. It's it's fun that my classmates are here too because I still see them. I talk to them. Like we even take classes together, so it's still cool. And then it's also fun to meet new people because we got people from Jamaica here, California. Like it's people from all over. So it's always fun to get to know other people and stuff like that. And the HBCU experience, I love it. Like we got fried chicken Wednesdays. Like them to be the best days. Like just eat and just talk to each other, get to know different people.
Yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned that too, because that's what I want to talk about next is, you talk about the welcoming atmosphere, you talk about people talking to each other. How important is that networking that you're finding out? Because, unfortunately in Camden here, people grow up in a bubble. They don't really get exposed to people from outside of this area. But even at a school in Mississippi, you can meet people literally from all over the world, from all walks of life. And I think that translates into success in the workplace.
Yeah, I think it's very important because when I came here, everybody asked me things like, "Where are you from? Where are you from?" So when I said Camden, they like, "What's Camden? Where is that located?" So I always have to be like, "It's the outskirts of Canton. It's the country of Canton." Where I say is we're not far from Jackson, so they kind of it's like, "Oh, okay, the Jackson area." But I think it's very important because like I said, you just meet new people, and like everybody is not like everybody don't look like you and everybody don't do the sport that you do. So it's always good to meet people outside of your sport. Like I talk to a lot of people outside of my sport. Like I talk to my teammates too, of course, but it's good to know other people too, like besides the people that you play with.
Yeah, and I think it's important, and I say this all the time. HBCU stands for historically black. It does not stand for exclusively black. because Coahoma has non-black students. So I hear a lot of kids say, I don't want to go in HBCU. I've been around black students my entire life. That doesn't mean that's all that's going to be there.
Yeah, like we have different races here, and it's honestly, I like to get to know people. Like I've talked to people that's not my race and stuff like that. Like I've talked to different people, and it's always good to get to know them and know their story, know their background and stuff like that, because especially like the band kids, some people they probably wouldn't talk to them, but I like to talk to everybody because I take classes with these people every day. So I mean, you might as well get to know them so it won't be like awkward or weird like when you're in the class and stuff. And then it's always good to get to know people too, because say you need help with your work or something like that, and you have somebody to talk to, or you have, a friend, that you can study with, stuff like that.
Yeah, and I always say the biggest mistake someone can make in college is just to be in your dorm room and not interact. You can have great grades, but you got to get that communication, you got to get that networking, and you got to get involved in something on campus, no matter what it is, even if you're not an athlete. Now, something that I'm curious to know, and I think some other people would also want to know is obviously you're loving basketball and you're doing great at it, and your dream is to play at another school after you transfer. But what is your ultimate career goal with whenever you get your degree, and what type of degree are you trying to achieve?
So right now my major is criminal justice, and I will be done in December. So I'm gonna change my major to social work in January. So by the time I graduate in May, I'll end up graduating with 2 degrees instead of one.
Oh wow.
And yeah, I just found that out yesterday myself. So um my ultimate career goal is to do something in the law, probably. I'm not sure what I want to do. I just know I want to do something with law, like helping others, probably helping at risk youth. I'll probably do something around in that area.
All right, so I do have some questions, and I'll get to as many of these as I can, and they're really good. So I didn't coach these at all, so we'll see. We'll see what we got here for you. The first one
All right.
is from our Mr. VJ Cameron Murray, and he asked, "What has been the hardest part about the move from high school to college?"
Um, the hardest part, definitely, definitely basketball. Like it's a whole different level. Like high school, you kind of can play at your own speed, your own pace, but college is so much faster. And I say it because we have a shot clock now, so you don't have high school. You can kind of mope around and kind of go as slow as you want, but college is fast. It's real fast, and then the conditioning and weights and stuff. Is way different than high school. Like you doing it every day until like the season come, and then when the season come, you might do it here and there, and then postseason you still working out. So I probably say basketball.
Yeah, and I officiate in that league, and I'm telling you, there are no cakewalks. Every team is competitive. Every team has athletes, and every team has the best of the best from high schools from all over the country. It is not just Mississippi players. I mean, there's players from other countries that are in this league that are. I know, East Central had one from Australia and one from England that was six
Yeah,
foot six. There's a lot of talent. So having to be at your best is a great point in that league. And we got some going to play football and other sports, and I think that rings true in all sports in the Mississippi JUCO League. Here's a good one. This is Cornell Bacon. He's going to East Mississippi. But he asked, if you didn't have the bonds and friendships you have now, do you think you'd be where you are?
probably not. I probably think I'd be like one of the weird kids or something like that. Probably somebody who wouldn't come outside their dorm. But because I'm like this friendly, talkative person, then it's easy for me to make friends and talk to different people and stuff like that. But other than that, I think I'd be in a shell somewhere.
Yeah, and like I said, I think that's the biggest mistake anyone can make in college is if you're going to be there, get out of your shell. I mean, the grades are important, and you need to have a great GPA, but it's all y'all always used to joke with me about how do you know everybody? Well, you have to get out and get to know people. You have
Yeah.
to make sure people know you, and that starts when you step on a college campus. This is Dietrich Carter, and he asked, "What was your biggest inspiration to keep going throughout the long basketball season?"
I would say my family because they poured so much time, money. They just poured a lot into me, so I do it all for them. Like I play basketball because of them. They are the people who keep me going.
Absolutely. Here's Gavin Griffin, who's also going to East Mississippi to play football. So he's going to also be a Mississippi JUCO athlete. And he asked, "What has been your best college experience as of right now, and how did you get where you want to be in basketball?"
Um, my best experience so far. Um, that's kind of tough because it's so much that happens, and I probably say our basketball homecoming. I think that was the best time I've had. Like that whole week leading up to it, like we prepared, to play the team that we was playing against, but just the people, like the community that we in, everybody know everybody love everybody, and so the community they make sure to come out and support us, and we had people traveling from everywhere. And another good experience was when Scottie Pippen came to our game when we played Itawamba Community College. That was kind of fun. And
Yeah,
yeah, I think
yeah,
that's
because
it.
I know your coach is from CrossFit, and one of your assistants is Scottie Pippen's cousin, and is also from Arkansas. So I think that's pretty cool that you got to play in front of NBA Hall of Famer.
Yeah, that definitely was fun.
This is Deja Weaver, and she asked, "What colleges are you looking at attending after you leave Coahoma?"
Honestly, I'm not sure. Um, I want to go somewhere that also feels like home and somewhere that has um a good program where I can continue my criminal justice journey and something like that. It don't necessarily have to be a HBCU, but I mean if it is then, I wouldn't mind.
Absolutely,
But
absolutely.
wherever the free money at, you know.
Hey, I'm with you on that. Whoever writes the check, that's where you go. This is R.J. Jones, and he asked, "What strategies or habits have you developed to ensure you succeed in school and in life?"
Definitely time management, communication for sure. Um, because before I came here, I wasn't good at talking to my professors and stuff like that. If like I need to turn work in, like I just kind of be like procrastinating and stuff like that. So now I've learned that I have to talk to them in order, to keep my grades up, to make sure I turn my work in on time. And like time management is everything when you get to school. Like it's everything.
Absolutely, and I'm glad you said how there's nobody there to wake you up. If you sleep in and miss it, you just miss it,
You just
and
miss it. Yeah.
absolutely. So, and that's also why if you're sick, that's why you need to know people so you can get the note. So that's another good part of networking. I've got two more. This is Shania Kyles, Jr., one of our Blue Diamond dancers, and she asked, "What has been the biggest takeaway from the change from high school to college that you've experienced personally?"
The biggest takeaway. I'm not a big person who talk about my feelings a lot, but we have like counselors here. I got my basketball coach. I got my teammates. So I probably say me talking about my feelings more. Like I want to say my feelings, but like maybe something that's bothering you. If you like you're not feeling okay and you just need somebody to talk to, then you'll always have like your coach or you got the counselors, your teammates, maybe some friends. And I would just say like don't suffer in silence. Like don't feel like you're alone. Like you always have somebody there. Like you always have somebody to talk to.
Yeah, and pretty much every college campus, at least all the ones in Mississippi that I know of, community colleges or whatever, have student mental health centers. It is perfectly normal to struggle mentally with the transition from high school to college. It's not something that's never happened before. I promise you, everybody's dealt with it at some point, and they have professionals there to help that can help you adjust to that. And you're right. The worst thing you can do is bottle it up and don't talk about it. So I'm glad that you've been able to open up, and it's amazing when you have people to help you cope with things, how much easier it is to cope with.
Yeah, because when you get here, it's gonna be some days like you feel like you just want to give up, you can't do it no more. But you just gotta keep pushing yourself. You gotta just keep going and just talk to somebody. Don't suffer alone.
Absolutely. Well, I just got one more. This is Selena Johnson, sister of your classmate Octavia Johnson. And she asked, what has been the hardest part about transitioning to a high school with not many students and walking into a classroom that was filled with a lot more people?
Oof. It's definitely different. Like, Velma classes, they were big. I mean, they wasn't small, but they weren't like too big. But when I first walked my first day, I walked in a class, it's like 30, 40 people in one class. So it's kind of like it's like whew, like it's a lot of people then when you walk in, everybody's staring at you like you new kid and stuff like that. But I think I took it pretty easily because like I said, I'm a talkative person and I'm kind of friendly. So it was easy for me. It wasn't hard.
Yeah, you're talkative, but all right. Well, we're almost out of time, and we thank you so much for taking some time for us. And I speak for so many people when I say how proud we are to call you an alum, and we're just so proud of all the things you're doing and that you're going to do. But it was just less than a year ago. You were right here. You were right here with these same teachers in these same hallways and sitting in these same seats, listening to the same speeches. And I think you're a great example of somebody that made the most of an opportunity and is really going to take it to the next level. But, for all these kids that are about to graduate, whether they go to college or they don't go to college, how much of what we told you about what happens after you graduated actually happened?
Almost everything. Like everything. Like when they tell y'all, when they telling y'all stuff, y'all need to listen because what they told me, maybe I might not thought like I might not think it was gonna happen, but it definitely happened. It definitely happened. So I would just say listen to your teachers and for all the athletes out there, student athletes, you gotta stay eligible to keep playing your sport. And I would say don't take your conditioning and your sport for granted. Don't take it for granted because when you get to college, it's a whole different ball game. Like it's way different. So just communicate with your teachers, turn your work in on time, and just stay humble and you're gonna be all right.
Love to see it. Cayla Myers, Velma Jackson, class of 2023, all the way from Clarksdale, Mississippi. We thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
All right, talk to you soon, buddy.
All right.